Deal or no deal, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressing ceasefire negotiations today as pressure grows to accept a permanent ceasefire agreement that would free hostages taken by Hamas on October 7th. That as the IDF confirms 4 more hostages are dead. President Biden has endorsed a proposal that would stop the fighting, release the hostages, and move all Israeli forces out of populated areas in Gaza. I'm joined now by ABC News foreign correspondent Marcus Moore in Tel Aviv. And Marcus, we are just learning that Israeli forces are confirming the deaths of those 4 hostages. What more do we know?
Yeah, the news coming out just this evening, and we understand from the Israeli officials that these 4 hostages have been identified as Chaim Perry, Yoram Metzger, Amiram Cooper, and Nadav Popplewell. These among the more than 130 hostages who so many have been praying for as they've been held captive in Gaza. In terms of the circumstances of their deaths, we don't know at this point, but we did hear from a spokesperson with the IDF who indicated that they believe that they died in Han Yunis, perhaps as early as December, as the Israeli Defense Force was fighting there. But again, Stephanie, tonight we don't know the exact circumstances of how they passed away. But this devastating news coming as demonstrators have taken to the streets here for many days, imploring the Israeli government to come to some type of agreement to bring their loved ones home. And those efforts, Stephanie, continue as not only the fighting carries on in Gaza, but also the work to bring about some type of ceasefire.
Marcus, certainly not the news the families of those hostages wanted to hear. So many more families holding out hope. What is the latest on the ceasefire situation? I know you said they're still fighting there in Gaza, but what is the latest on those negotiations?
Yeah, strikes are happening daily, as you know, Stephanie. This war seemingly far from over, but a lot of hope is resting at this point, at least for the time being, in this latest deal proposal that President Joe Biden announced on Friday. The backroom discussions have continued, but I can tell you that right now there are no delegations that we've seen meeting in the past in places like Cairo or in Qatar. Those meetings are not happening, but the negotiations are still on. And as you know, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been facing a lot of pressure, not only internationally, but also here in Israel among those families who want their loved ones to be brought home, imploring them to reach a deal. But at the same time, there are those who have said that he cannot accept this deal that's on the table at this point. And so right now, we're waiting to hear from the Israelis on what the next steps might be, and as well as Hamas, waiting for an official response from them on this proposal that they had early on, just within the past couple of days, have said that they have a positive view, but they have not accepted this deal, Stephanie. A lot of work left to be done, and certainly details to be ironed out on a potential ceasefire.
Yes, so many of us watching those negotiations and watching what happens, what transpires in the coming days. Let's talk about the destruction in Gaza. The Israeli Defense Minister spoke with Secretary of State Antony Blinken today and touched on what Gaza could look like in a post-Hamas world. We know there has been much destruction there in Gaza. What more do we know about that conversation and where Antony Blinken stands on this?
Yeah, well, as you know, the deal that's being discussed is a multi-phase deal, and a part of it is the question of Gaza the day after. And that's really been the main sticking point as it relates to this proposal, is the question of who will govern the Gaza Strip once the fighting stops. And at this point, we simply don't know. Israel, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that they want to eliminate Hamas fully. But Hamas is showing no signs that they want to relinquish any control of the region. And as part of that discussion, we go back to the question of the humanitarian crisis that has been unfolding and who will be able to facilitate getting aid to the hundreds of thousands of families who are struggling, and all of those questions remain to be answered, Stephanie, and it certainly does highlight the real question and the hard question to be answered of exactly what will happen the day after, and we simply don't have those answers at this point.
Marcus Moore for us in Tel Aviv. Marcus, thank you so much.